It's no secret that Cartoon Network has seen better days. So many of their projects have gotten cut short, canceled, and even wiped from streaming. And as I've touched on before, Cartoon Network Studios no longer exist, as their remaining employees now share a roof with Warner Bros. Animation in a new building. Things have been doom and gloom for a while, but it's no use dwelling on what could have been. Instead, I want to look at what could still be. The new Adventure Time series, Fiona and Cake, has left me feeling pretty optimistic, especially with all the attention it's been getting. This is the most eyes a Cartoon Network series has had on it in literal years, since either Distant Lands or Steven Universe Future, both of which were about 3 years ago at this point. God, we're all getting old. If Warner Bros. Discovery can play their cards right, I think this reinvention of Adventure Time could reinvent the Cartoon Network brand as a whole, reclaiming their title as the King of Cartoons. Also, I should probably make it clear that I'm coming at this from a consumer's perspective, what I think would get viewers of all ages interested and engaged with Cartoon Network again. So for any industry peeps watching, I know there's a lot that needs to be fixed behind the scenes, but that's a conversation for another time. Fiona and Cake is now the second time a Cartoon Network series has been revived for an adult audience, following Samurai Jack's 10-episode revival back in 2017. And I think both make a pretty great case for why other Cartoon Network properties should get the same deal. A lot of Cartoon Network shows share similar pros and cons. People fall in love with the characters, the world, the humor, and the emotional cores of these shows. On top of that, I think a lot of people used to look at Cartoon Network as the edgier channel compared to Nickelodeon or Disney. Yet, for as much freedom Cartoon Network gave a lot of these shows compared to other networks, the conditions that come with being a kids channel always held them back. Not just of how dark they can get or how out of pocket the jokes can be, but the storytelling too. Since the days of Kids Next Door, so many of these cartoons have built up an overarching story with stakes and deepest lore. But time was almost never on their side, as episodes were capped at 11 minutes, with the occasional epic half-hour special sprinkled in. Not to mention, these shows were obligated to stay episodic overall, so that casual viewers weren't lost during reruns. Both Samurai Jack Season 5 and Fiona and Cake dodged these problems by being concise, serialized stories from the jump. Both are 10 episodes, with every episode picking up exactly where the last one left off. In spite of this, every episode managed to feel distinct and like its own thing, especially with Fiona and Cake. Both shows were also bumped up to TV-14, allowing for blood, mild swearing,
God damn it,
crude humor that's a lot more blunt.
Look like a talking penis.
And it allows heavier themes to be explored, like how both shows delve into suicidal thoughts. These stories would not fly on regular old Cartoon Network. It never feels like they're overdoing it either. They use those elements sparingly. It also allows the characters to grow up with their audience. Fiona and Finn are about 30 in the new series, while Samurai Jack has a 50-year time skip. Although Jack stopped aging physically due to time travel shenanigans. You get the idea though. Watching Fiona and Cake has me sitting on the couch like, wow, I wish Steven Universe could come back so Pearl could say fuck. Seeing other shows in this format would be a dream come true. Give me a 10-episode Steven Universe sequel, where Steven and Lars go to different planets and uncover gem origins. Let me peep a Ben 10,000 show that lets Ben and his son Ken share the spotlight. Something that adults who grew up with the original can watch with their kids while also getting plenty out of it for themselves. You know, some Dragon Ball Z vibes. And I would kill for a regular show 25 years later miniseries, with a handful of Mordecai and Rigby's misadventures set in the epilogue. Hell, that can be a movie! Just let me see the raccoon smoke some weed! And you already know Galactic Kids Next Door deserves to get in the action. Maybe something like that doesn't need to be TV-14, as I do think the Kids Next Door franchise should be, you know, appropriate for kids. But even something TV-PG that has an aged-up Sector V working alongside the new generation of operatives would be great to attract old and new viewers alike. The main appeal of these aren't just the shows having some edge to them, but it's really giving these shows a chance to evolve and embrace aspects of themselves that the network previously restricted. For some, that could be serialization. It could be telling stories that only really work with adult protagonists. It could be something that we wouldn't even think of until we see it before our very eyes. It's worth pursuing. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want Cartoon Network to only have reboots and revivals with little room for anything original. I'll always want to see new ideas flourish in animation. Unfortunately, it's the bigwigs at the top that associate original with risk. They're much more comfortable relying on established IP, and if they're gonna go down that path, I'd rather them do it the right way with something like the Adventure Time projects that has the original crew involved, instead of starting over from scratch and giving us something horrid like the 2016 Powerpuff Girls. These revivals have a guaranteed audience and allow creators to do something new with the franchise without straying too far away from what made it work in the first place. They shouldn't be the only thing produced under the Cartoon Network label, but I do think it's better than nothing at all. It's no secret that cable got the short end of the stick amongst the streaming wars, and as a result, a lot of studios and brands who were popular on cable have also gotten screwed over. It was so simple at first. Netflix and Hulu were poppin', so studios would cut a deal for their heavy hitters and get them on streaming while they were airing on TV. But then everyone got greedy and started a bajillion streaming services, gatekeeping not only the pre-existing seasons of the shows they own, but new material as well. Want to see what happens next in the story you've come to adore? Well, fork over another $20. Then you can see Carly Shay swear.
You gotta switch it up on a bitch.
Or watch a Face and Furt movie that's kinda like the Mars episode, but this time they have movie shading. Needless to say, this wasn't sustainable long term, as streaming services are losing money and are purging media that don't live up to their mysterious expectations. Like, you only had this out for a week, but go off. One brand that's been caught up in a lot of this is, you guessed it, Cartoon Network. To be fair, this has been a problem before the streaming wars, but the last few years have shown just how much they've been lacking. Steven Universe, huge show, had fans from all over the world. And how did they handle the rollout? By dropping episodes on the app, but you need cable to watch them. Or premiering new episodes on cable with little to no fanfare. Fans still have no idea when they drop, and at the end of the day, you still needed a cable login to watch it. I mean, now you can at least watch some of the show on Hulu, just nothing after season 4. At least you can watch all 5 seasons in future on Max, but not the movie, you know, the thing that bridges the two of them together. Try figuring that one out. Adventure Time! The story has continued after Come Along With Me for a while on Max. Yeah, if they planned on airing any of the Disneyland specials on TV, they would have already. It's been 2 years since it ended, and I imagine the same goes for Fiona and Cake. Infinity Train, probably the best example of how fucked up this has all been. First 2 seasons air on TV with good marketing at first, but it was all mainly on the network itself, at a point where viewership was already dying, and the show wouldn't be able to stream anywhere until HBO Max launched, where books 3 and 4 would be exclusively released, still with little marketing, never airing on television, and now the entire show is removed from the platform, only available for purchase on digital storefronts like Apple. Yikes, right? Cartoon Network has always had an accessibility problem, and it's really hurt some of their best shows over the past decade. So, how do we fix this? Well, I think they're already halfway to a decent solution. They just need to go all in instead of dipping their toes in the water. First off, they need to license more shows to other streaming services, including the ones that were propped up as Max exclusives. You already see this a little bit with shows like Powerpuff Girls and Ben 10 making their way to Netflix. Ed, Edd n Eddy and Dexter are on Amazon Prime, and select seasons of some of their shows are on Hulu. But they really need to get more of their shows on other platforms, especially the new stuff. And I don't think things like Distant Lands or Fiona and Cake should be held hostage on Max either. Like, come on, Distant Lands premiered 3 years ago. If people were gonna sign up for Max just to watch that, they would have already. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with having an exclusivity window, a few months or a year of having dibs on an exciting new project, but after a while, you just gotta let it go and get it back from letting other services host your property. And if that wasn't already working out for them, you wouldn't see them already do this with certain shows. And it's wild because, like, you're telling me no one wanted to buy Close Enough or Infinity Train, a show by the creator of Regular Show, and the guy who's now making the Among Us cartoon? No, you're lying! I think another way to make their shows more accessible is to have a handful of newer episodes for free on YouTube. They already do this to an extent. For an example, Unicorn and My Adventures of Superman did this with their first episodes. Every Rick and Morty season premieres on YouTube. And a lot of shows will have random episodes up for free. But I think they need to be moving like how Disney did with the Owl House Season 3. Since it was broken up into 3 specials, Disney posted each special onto their YouTube channel after they premiered on TV, while still hosting them on Disney+. And when the next one dropped, the previous one would get delisted from YouTube. These Owl House uploads amassed millions of views pretty quickly. It was clear that this was the best way for fans to get their hands on new episodes as soon as possible through legal means. It's not too far off from Shonen Jump's model. You get to read the new chapter of a series for free alongside the last few, but if you want to read an entire series, you gotta get a subscription. Give people the chance to be caught up with their favorite series before busting out the paywall. Allow them to hear about a show and be given an official free way to watch at least a few recent episodes. I promise, if Cartoon Network went down this route for any of their upcoming series, they'll actually amass a pretty big following, and it's not like they wouldn't get some pretty good ad revenue, or have big brands directly sponsor episodes like they did back in the day. Anyone remember when a special episode would drop, and the commercials would be like, "You're watching the Big F***ing Deal episode, sponsored by Kraft's Mac and Cheese." Literally just do that. Throw an ad on the episode. Don't be shy. Game recognizes game. We're all trying to get a bag out here. Point is, there are ways for channels like Cartoon Network to make YouTube a financially viable platform for new episodes of their shows. Not in ways that replace cable or Max, but as in addition to them. You premiere it on TV, you get those cable ratings, and the next day you can throw it on Max. Have it be there, throw it up on digital storefronts, but then also throw it up on your YouTube channel for free. It don't gotta be that long. Maybe for just a week, maybe 2. Maybe you can even have it like on demand, where there's 3 or 4 episodes at a time, and they slowly expire one by one, being removed from the channel after a while. When the next episode premieres, you replace one of those free episodes with that one. I don't think it's a bad system. People have a window to catch up for free as it's coming out in a way that directly supports these shows, without having to pay a subscription fee or relying on cable. And again, the network still gets a bag from it. Of course, being Cartoon Network, they could run into the issue of these episodes getting marked for kids, restricting its reach across the platform. But who's to say it needs to go on the Cartoon Network channel? Adult Swim has completely engulfed Cartoon Network. It took 2 of their new shows. It starts at 5 p.m. It's airing older Cartoon Network shows. It's basically become the Adult Swim channel with a little bit of Cartoon Network.
Itty bitty living space.
A lot of people reasonably see this as a bad move that's gonna end with more Fox reruns dominating the channel. But that's just because you guys don't see the vision! I need you to open your third eye and take a good look at what Adult Swim's takeover has to offer for the Cartoon Network brand. Adult Swim and Cartoon Network are currently led by Michael Uwolin. Or is it Uwolin? I truly don't know. Every time I look at the name, I think Halloween, and it's basically October, so Michael Halloween. Adult Swim and Cartoon Network are led by Michael Halloween, and I don't know the last time both sides of the channel actually shared the same leadership, if ever. And I imagine my boy Mike has actually been trying to save Cartoon Network from extinction by creating Checkered Pass and moving shows like Superman and Unicorn to Adult Swim, shielding them from the horrors of tax write-offs, shitty time slots, and the S&P department. And hey, I know what you might be thinking, but a shitty time slot for Cartoon Network does not mean a shitty time slot for Adult Swim. He wants to set a precedent for Adult Swim airing content aimed at young adults, aka teens and college students. And that's where I think Cartoon Network comes back into play. People have the assumption that Cartoon Network can only produce shows aimed at kids and teenagers. But even before Superman and Unicorn switched to Adult Swim, they had a track record of producing shows for an adult audience. Primal, Close Enough, and Black Dynamite Season 2 were all made in-house at Cartoon Network. And if Fiona and Cake is any indication, they don't want to stop making shows like these anytime soon. With most of the channel now being Adult Swim, Cartoon Network now has a reason to go all in on adult animation. I want to see a world where creators at Cartoon Network regularly pitch shows to Adult Swim, paving the way for a new generation of cartoons that get to be themselves and tell the stories they want to tell without getting watered down. Now yeah, kids need their own shows too, and rest be assured, Gumball and Teen Titans Go ain't going anywhere. But how much money are they willing to pour into an original show aimed at 6 to 11-year-olds that, at this point, is going to premiere new episodes either super early in the morning or early in the afternoon? Most of that audience is either in school or on their iPad watching streamers. 68% of Cartoon Network viewership are people over the age of 18. That's a majority! So get them shows made for them! Not to mention, a lot of the Cartoon Network shows people love couldn't be made today without being toned down heavily, like Regular Show or Adventure Time. Hell, they got toned down while they were running! And a lot of shows on Checkered Pass had to get re-rated for the block, bumped up from TVY7 to TVPG. Times have changed, the landscape has changed, and I think Ualien is trying to adapt so Cartoon Network can still come out on top. And I think allowing more of the originals to premiere on Adult Swim is exactly how that can happen. And these originals don't need to be super crude or edgy, they can just be exactly what the creatives need them to be. But as always, these are just my thoughts and I want to hear yours. Let's find out why we're not CEOs in the comments down below and keep the conversation going over at AwestruckVox on Twitter and Instagram. And shout out to my boy Hats Off Media for a great thumbnail. Please subscribe to his YouTube channel, watch his videos so he can make that sweet ad revenue and make his cartoon, because it's gonna be a banger. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace!